Okay. Yeah, can we all see my screen? You're looking great. So if you did catch those tunes, they are from DJ Clam, otherwise known as Cameron Adams, the third founder of Canva. We have the honor of hearing those every week at our company-wide sit-down. So it's a bit of fun just to get everyone excited. I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come along tonight. I know that uni's starting to get a bit crazy if it's not already crazy. So it's cool to see that you're taking time to learn a little bit more about Canva. My name is Jess. I'm the University Programs Manager here, and tonight I am joined by two amazing graduates, Jack and Shamara, who are going to share their experience about starting the best work of their lives at Canva. So if you haven't heard of us before, we're an online design tool. So whether you're preparing your next TikTok, your Instagram story, or a killer pitch deck, there's bound to be a template for you. We are empowering over 50 million monthly active users, which is pretty cool for quite a young product. So prior to Canva being around, the usual way of creating good design was complex. You had to purchase Adobe, casually study design for 2 to 3 years, purchase fonts, purchase layouts, slice images, all to finally get the first preparation for web and print, which would be reviewed about 15 times. And it just wasn't possible for small business owners or students like yourselves. So that's why Canva was born. We're democratizing the design process. We wanted to create a tool where you're able to collaborate online, have one-click access to pro tools, millions of images, and really just publish anything, anywhere. So we're able to empower those small businesses, and we've achieved quite a lot, but in the words of CEO Melanie Perkins, we're only 1% of the way there. So in broader sense of just creating beautiful design, our mission is actually to empower the whole world to design. So empowering absolutely everyone to design absolutely anything with every ingredient in every language on every device with the best team in the world. So a little flashback to Canva's early days. These are two of our founders, Mel and Cliff, actually in Mel's mum's living room. So Canva was founded in Sydney, Australia in 2012. And in our first year, we had more than 750,000 users, which is pretty cool. Flash forward to today, we have over 1,000 Canvanauts in offices and remote offices around the world, and we're valued at over $6 billion US, which is pretty exciting. Look, we work hard at Canva, but we're sure to take the time to celebrate. So whether it's a Steve Jobs party for the launch of the iPhone app, releasing doves off our open air rooftop, cinemas, cocktail classes, lawn bowls, picnics, paint and sips, the celebration may change, but the underlying theme stays the same. It's an opportunity for us to come together as a team and celebrate all the work that we have achieved. Now, at Canva, to achieve our mission, we need our people to grow, thrive, and do the best work of their lives. But what does that actually mean, best work of their lives? At Canva, we define that as we want everyone to feel recognized, to feel supported, and to be able to bring their whole selves to work. And of course, create an environment where everyone belongs and feels included. So I'm going to share a little video that we created for an internal event last year that depicts that quite well.
Yeah, I felt instantly included and welcome, and as someone who relocated to Sydney from halfway across the world, I'm proud to work somewhere where I feel there's a lot of people who care and accept each other.
I just remember on my first day at Canva, there was one of the Canva Pride stickers on my desk, and to most people, it was just a small gesture, but for me, it was one less thing I knew I didn't have to worry about in my first week. On my first day at Canva, everyone gave me a hug. I'm not a hugger, but now I'm a hugger. Since joining Canberra, I've felt extremely included in everything. Everyone smiles, everyone says hello. It's such a fantastic place to be.
It's probably one of the most inclusive environments that I've ever worked in personally. I can actually focus on building a career here without worrying about job security, like I'm going to get fired just for being trans.
My favourite thing about Canva is honestly people. Everybody brings the whole selves.
One thing that I like in Canva is the genuine smiles that I get as soon as I walk into the door in the mornings. Those smiles just allow me to be who I am, to bring myself in full to the workplace.
Inclusion for me is about building a sense of belonging. We at Canva are constantly creating an inclusive place where people are bound by our values and a shared sense of purpose. For me, that is belonging.
So at Canva, we have a huge responsibility to champion diversity everywhere, across our product, across our organization, and our community. As we continue to improve on and build our design tool, we promise to continue holding ourselves accountable for introducing new measures to ensure a more diverse and inclusive platform in the hope of creating lasting change. For our team, it looks like this: to build a team that better represents our community and our world, whilst ensuring that every team member feels they truly belong at Canva and have equal opportunities here. We're the first to admit we have a long way to go, but we're committed to this journey that we're on to becoming a celebration of diversity. So before I hand over to Jack, I have one question. Are you ready to do the best work of your life? So at Canva, we have our internship positions available online. You can find them at canva.com/careers. We offer full relocation assistance for those who aren't based in Sydney. So we book your flights and accommodation for you. And we also have graduate positions with start dates every 2 weeks and other roles opening up daily. So thank you. I am now going to hand over to Jack.
You've stolen the line from the end of my presentation. You have to come up with something new.
Reinforcing it.
I know. All right. Let's see if this works. Alrighty. How are we looking? Good?
Looks great.
Oh, hell yeah. Alrighty. Should be good to go. Hello, everyone. My name's Jack. I hope you're all doing swell tonight. I'm coming off the back of a cold, so forgive my stuffy nose and if I cough or sneeze partway through. But yeah, let's jump right into this presentation about the Canva intern experience. And yeah. So let me introduce myself. My name's Jack. As I just said, I'm a 7-month-old software engineer at Canva. I'm originally from Brisbane, Queensland, which is why if you see me around Sydney, I'm usually wearing a jumper because it's too cold for me here, even in summer. I graduated from the University of Queensland, studying software engineering. After I took a long detour from doing electrical engineering, and I never found my way back. I love coffee, motorbikes, and the beach, but sadly I gave up motorbikes when I moved to Sydney, but I found something new, which is sim racing. I'm an avid fan of motorsports and things that go fast, so I've replaced going fast in the real world with going fast in the virtual world temporarily. Day to day, I'm a software engineer for the Canva Analytics team. We work on data ingestion for Canva's user analytics data. A tradition at Canva is sharing fun facts when you meet new people. And so here's my Canva related fun fact for you all. With 500 employees, I was the first Jack at Canva. And so I secured Jack at canva.com. And this is a personal fun fact for me because I struggled to think of a time in my life growing up where I didn't share the name Jack with at least 2 other people. And at one point, in my final year of grade 12, there was 7 of us in the one cohort. So yeah, that's my Canva related fun fact. I started my journey to Canva well before I even knew it existed as a company. I grew up in Brisbane, Queensland, and went to my local state high school. Throughout high school, I worked at McDonald's selling burgers. After high school, I went to UQ to study electrical engineering and found out that software engineering is much cooler. During university, I worked at a pool shop for about 3 years until I finally got my first software-related job in government, working part-time for the Department of Environment and Science. I was fortunate enough to get an internship at Canva before my final year in uni, and I returned as a full-time software engineer at Canva in July last year. And you're probably wondering why I'm telling you all of this. And I hope it's so that you can appreciate that you don't have to have multiple internships or work full-time for your whole university degree to get a job at Canva. Canva's like really looking for the right people, like for people who they can teach, and I'll talk more about this later in the presentation. Yeah, so enough about me. I'm sure all you really want to hear about is Canva. So let's just jump right into the Canva internship. In the background there, you can see the intern cohort from my year, and you can probably, if you can find me in the back, you're doing pretty well. So the Canva internship starts like all good summer holidays should start, with a boot camp to wake you out of your uni slumber and to kickstart your mind on how to do the best work of your life. In the first week, you learn the ins and outs of Canva Life, and you get up to speed quickly on how work gets done at Canva. Canva really focuses on making sure you have the foundational knowledge to succeed, and teaches you a lot about the fundamentals of our tech stack, both back end and front end. And as well as about the engineering culture and how to navigate your way through our code bases. Additionally, you'll get to meet a lot of the company as part of your onboarding bootcamp, and you'll also get to meet the rest of the other interns at your welcome event, and spend some time with your mentor getting the lowdown on your project. The project, which is probably the most important part about your internship. Projects are selected from a long list of potential candidates. Each potential candidates, a lot of them get trimmed down because they're either not scoped well or they're just not the right fit for an intern. Each project revolves around a one-to-one relationship between intern and mentor, and this is a key thing in the Canva internship because everyone gets a good mentor. And projects are flavored from anything from machine learning to user accessibility and everything in between. Whether you're working on the core product or you're working on internal development tools or you're designing the next Canva print product, there's an internship project that's suited to you. But let me give you some insight into like the more details on a project, and I'll talk about the Amplitude Worker, which was a data engineering project which I worked on when I was an intern at Canva. And to explain this, we'll go through 3 W's about the project, which is the who, what, and why. You're probably going, what is an amplitude and why is it doing work? And I'll first explain the data loop at Canva, which is a pretty important concept at a lot of companies. Essentially, as engineers, we write code and we push out a product every day, and we call this Canva. Users interact with that product, and we want to know what users are doing and whether the changes we made are working or whether the users aren't enjoying the product. And so the way we do this is through user tracking. And so when a user uses the product, they offload JSON payloads, and this comes to a service called Canvalytics. Canvalytics offloads it to the warehouse, where analysts can look at it and provide feedback to engineers on how the product is going. And that's the rough data loop at Canva. But you'll notice there's this side branch here where we send data to Amplitude. And Amplitude is a really powerful analysis tool for user analytics data. At Canva, everybody has access to Amplitude, and it allows people to answer easy questions about how people are using the product. And so, but why did I need to build something if Canvalytics existed? Well, Canvalytics didn't actually exist. We had a vendor that did it for us, and that's that's that big octopus there, which is a reference to my previous talk on this, which goes into a lot more technical detail. The current vendor we used to do it was expensive, and Canva wanted more control over its data and the ability to control where it went as well. So we ended up with the Amplitude worker, and my job was to build the link between Canvalytics and Amplitude so that analysts and engineers could learn more about how users use that product. And so in 3 months, I went through 5 steps to build out the Amplitude worker. Step 1 was to learn. When I got to Canva, I had no idea how to write Scala. I had no idea how to use Terraform or use Kubernetes or anything like related to AWS. A lot of things that I hadn't interacted with before. And so I spent like the first probably like 2 to 3 weeks just brushing up, like learning those skills. I did like the Odersky course to learn Scala. I went through and made small changes in Terraform to understand how that worked, and then reading up on autoscaling and other bits and pieces for Kubernetes. Step 2 was to research and understand how our vendor performed data transformations. So it was basically, because I was basically re-implementing their version of the product, was to go through and work out what they were doing so that we could do it ourselves and take control of the data. The step 3 was to bootstrap it, which is the most important part of any software project. And that's just to get your end-to-end functionality working so that you can get your project, you can get into that iteration cycle of pushing code, testing it, and working on the next feature. And then the step 4 was to, after I'd done that, was to, like I said, keep that iteration cycle going, implement the business logic for the transformations, and then scale and test it. It's to get the worker up to scale, because Canva ingests a lot of user data, and to make sure it was accurate compared to the vendor system as well. Where did that time go? I got to step 5 and I realized that 3 months goes by very, very quickly. It goes by especially quickly when you're focused and you're having fun. And those are 2 things that you will definitely that'll definitely happen when if you work at Canva. So yeah, how did it end up? After 3 months, I ended up with like this small, simple looking system diagram where I had an SQS queue where we ingested messages. Those got offloaded to my little worker that sat in an EKS cluster, Kubernetes cluster, and would scale up to handle load using an autoscaler. And once it did the transformations, would take that data and send it on to Amplitude. There was a lot of interesting business logic and testing associated with the design. And if you're interested in technical details, I can link you to a previous talk I did about the project. But yeah, to this day, Amplitude Worker still runs in production. When I came back, I refactored all of the code and made it a lot faster because I had a few ideas since I left. And yeah, even today, it processes about 3 billion events per month. Sorry, it should be per week. We do about 3 billion events per week on that, through that little worker. So after 3 months of hard work, it's definitely time to celebrate. And celebrations are a big part of Canva culture. It allows people to get together and share knowledge and stories about the work they just completed. It also acts as a way to spread tribal knowledge that you generated while you were working on the project. And it's no different for your intern project too. Last year, we did an amazing race around Sydney, completing challenges like getting strangers to conga dance with us, which is why you can see me conga dancing with strangers in the presentation. And yeah, and this year they went on an adventure in a VR escape room, which I heard was like a ton of fun. And the great thing about Canva is like how you celebrate is up to you. So if you're thinking about applying, start thinking about how you want to celebrate finishing your project. Speaking of the 2020-2021 internship program, there was 35 talented interns this year. I was blown away with the projects that they put up. Some really cool things that happened with these interns. 45% of the cohort this year was female identifying, which is really, really, really cool. Projects were presented in an open forum this year, which was a great initiative. And I'd say at peak, there was 180 people. I wouldn't be surprised if 500 to 600 people had tuned into those presentations over the course of the day. This year, they've already shipped one of their projects live to staff, which is really cool, and also to our Canvas certified creatives. And there's a bunch of other projects that are in the pipeline that are going to end up in production very, very soon. They also had a ton of fun this year, a lot of social events, pizza making, weekly games nights, paint and sip. They designed their own hoodie, the VR escape rooms, as I mentioned, and much, much more. So what do you work on when you're at Canva? So this, as an example from this year, interns worked on a remote for live Canva presentations using your phone, smart cropping for video and photos using machine learning, adding images to comments in our editor, and an video visualizer, tongue twister, as well. And so, yeah, that's the broad spectrum of projects you can work on across the business. So why should you work or intern at Canva? And I'll give you my top 4 reasons. The people, Canva has a really big focus on making sure that they're not only hiring the right skills for the job, they're also hiring the right people into the job. And so what you'll find is that everyone who works at Canva shares a similar set of values and is focused on achieving the same set of goals. And that's it's not something that I've felt at a workplace I've worked at before. Everyone who works at Canva is positive about achieving goals and bringing their whole self to work, which is a really important value. Number 2 is the program. Canva has, for such a young company, builds a lot of structure around new hires, and especially the internship program. You're never left alone, unless that's what you wanted, unless you want to be left alone to do. And it always feels like there's a next step to take that'll guide you on the way. And Jess is a big part of that. So I should actually put her up there as number 5 for why you should intern at Canva. The food, Canva puts a lot of effort into making sure you're provided for at work, so that you can focus on doing really cool work. So there's lunch and breakfast every day, and there's usually leftovers if you hang around for dinner too. There's the snack cupboards as well, which are filled with lots of healthy treats and lots of unhealthy treats as well. I don't know what our Tim Tam consumption is up to now, but I don't think I want to know. But yeah, and the fun as well. I've never really worked at a workplace where I've enjoyed coming to work so much. We had to work remote for part of last year as part of the COVID lockdowns, and I don't think I've ever missed work as much as I missed, or the workplace as much as I missed working as I have working for Canva. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool culture at the company that makes you want to turn up and hang out with people every day, which is really cool. The other thing is just like I said, culture. Canva Life is a big thing. There's a Slack channel where we talk about it, and what's going on in your Canva life. There's every Friday, there's social drinks so that you can hang out with people from the company and talk about work or whatever your favorite hobby is. Season openers where we get to celebrate that quarterly sprint cycles. Coffee dates so you can meet everyone in the company and have an excuse to have your 3rd coffee for the day, and team celebrations as well, making sure that you get to celebrate the work that you complete, and those big goals that you hit. So yeah, you can see there I went for a recent team celebration. We went go-karting. There's Messina Club there, which is a weekly, I think it's a weekly trip to Messina, which is just up the road. And then we also have events on the rooftop as well, which overlooks the city, which is super pretty. So yeah, enough about the internship. Hopefully you guys want to apply. So what are my tips to get a job at Canva? And they're really simple. It's be ready to listen, be open and communicative. Canva thrives itself on being on communication skills and being able to work with other people, be able to take feedback in your stride. There's a big feedback culture at Canva, and being able to respond positively to constructive feedback is something that we look for in every candidate. And make sure you understand your fundamentals. This is it for the job that you're going into. So don't try and blow people away with buzzwords. If you're going for a front-end position, make sure you know how to use plain vanilla JavaScript. If you're going for the backend position, make sure you know how to use plain Java. There's not many extra points for knowing cool frameworks and what the latest flavor of the month is. But there's a lot of points in knowing the basics. And then the final one is to be a good mentee. For grads and interns, this is specifically important because the reality is you're not the greatest, you're not the best engineer, your best self right now. And Canva really wants to be able to teach you to be that person. We're happy to have people who only really know the basics of their job, because we can take those, as long as they're good people we can mentor, we can take them and build them up to be great engineers. So yeah, my final thought is, would you want to teach you? Yeah, I think that's my final slide. So I think it's over to Chamra. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jack. That was an amazing presentation. That makes me want to intern at Canva. Sorry, let me share my screen. Oh, can you see that? Yes. All right. So hi, I'm Chamra, and I'll be going through my Canva grad journey. So I kind of split my presentation into 3 volumes, as you say. So Act 1 is my introduction, a little bit about myself. Then Act 2 is my journey. So that's sort of like the core of this presentation, what I achieved in my first 6 months to a year. And Act 3, a little reflection on what I did. So let's get into it. Act 1, my introduction. Who am I? Hello, I'm Chama Ratnaika, also known as Lil Cham, Lil Chazza, and Cullinan, which is the name I actually go by. I'm a backend engineer on the Print and Partnerships group, and there's like a team inside of that called the Print Product Growth Team. And I've been here for approximately 1 year, 1 month. So what do I do? I'm a backend engineer, so I normally code in Terraform and Java, and I also do some SQL on the side. So I help release new print products. So for example, we actually released canvases and mugs towards the end of last year. I also help integrate with print partners. So these are the people who actually make our products and where we forward our orders to. I'm a service owner for print. I'm also on call for print. So I go on on-call rotation every 4 weeks, and I help mentor and onboard newbies. And most importantly, I eat food and banter with workmates. I think this is a pivotal part of a backend engineer and like an employee at Canva. But wait, what is Canva Print? Thanks for asking. So Canva Print, you can design, print, and order a print product, which will get shipped directly to your door. So not many people know this, but we have a lot of products available based on different regions, like canvases, mugs, invitations, flyers, business cards, you name it, we got it. And I also use print a lot. So these are my recent orders. And on my desk is just full of print packages because I order them every couple of weeks. But how did I get here? So I was actually born in Sri Lanka. I moved to New Zealand, as you can see by the sheep over there. I studied at the University of Auckland. I did software engineering and accounting and finance as a double degree. I think you guys call it, in New Zealand, we call it conjoint. I interned at 2 places in New Zealand, so small local companies called Apara for backend, and then I also did an internship at Sandfield for front end. And I started at Canva Feb 11, 2020, so approximately a year ago. But now to my journey at Canva. So in the first 2 weeks, it was mostly onboarding. So as you can see from the calendar snippet there, it's super structured. There's a lot of technical and non-technical onboarding sessions, and there's actually a huge focus on culture and values, which shows how pivotal these values are in the company. There's also a lot of optional newbie tutorials like GitHub, like how to use GitHub, how to use Git, how to make a PR. So it actually caters for a lot of people and a lot of different backgrounds. So you don't actually have to have industry experience. And also there's a lot of focus on setting up a new laptop because there's a lot of technology that we use and it takes a long time to set up SDE. Also, you get to meet heaps of new people. So in the first 2 weeks, I met my mentor and the rest of the print team. Since I was from New Zealand, Canva helped me get in touch with other expats to help the transition over here to go smoothly. I also met the other 2020 interns and grads, and I got to meet Mel, Cliff, and Cam in my first 2 weeks, which was mind-blowing. And I got to ask them questions about, Canva and how they started Canva. And as Jack said, there's a lot of food, lunches, going out to dinner with your workmates, and also going to Messina a lot. I also attended Season Opener. So this is a showcase of achievements from all our teams. It outlines the goals for the new season and it kind of starts that season off with a bang. There's a lot of funny videos, skits, and a lot of musical performances. And there's 4 per year. So at the start of each season, there'll be a season opener. And this was a picture from the season opener, the first season opener I attended at the start of last year. And I'm not in that photo. So I know the real question you're asking is, when did I actually start coding in these couple of weeks? So I actually started coding in Canva 3 days in. So I did this project called for a billing event handler. So I was actually part of this like billing cross print team season goal. It was a 200-line code change. So it was actually a medium-sized ticket and it was production code. So that was the key thing. It actually went into production. And I felt like I was already providing an impact at day one, essentially. So moving on past that first jam-packed 2 weeks, this was my first month at Canva. So this is a very oversimplified kind of journey from grad to senior developer, but essentially it went 0 to 100 real quick. I asked my mentor, do I have a grad project? And he's like, no, you're a full-time backend engineer. Here's some Jira tickets, here's some projects, let's get you going. So a couple of highlights in my first month. I actually rolled out automatic refunds for auto cancellation. So this actually reduced a huge amount of manual effort for refunds from CHT, which is our customer happiness team. So it felt so great to be able to roll that out. I also rolled out the billing event handler fully. That was what I started on. And I rolled out A1 posters, trifolds, and rec cards in Brazil. So I got to see these print products actually go out into the public, which was amazing. So by the end of the first month, I was fully integrated into the team sprint cycles. I was owning and closing my own tickets without much guidance. And I was leading these small projects, so these parity projects, which is releasing existing print products in new regions. And I was facilitating interactions with various stakeholders, so it's like front end, operations, CHT, and other backenders. So moving on to my first 3 months, this is when COVID hit. Sydney went into full lockdown, Canva went fully remote, and I was still learning these ropes. And I was stuck in this Airbnb without internet as I was still getting used to Sydney and I hadn't found my actual apartment yet. And it kind of made me like this, very sad. But Canva adapted instantly. They actually helped me set up my internet the next day, and they set me up with a 4G modem. My mentor reached out and added regular catch-ups, so he moved from, instead of 1 catch-up per week, he moved to 3 catch-ups per week. And the team adapted to work from home and provided as much support as they could. And there was a huge focus on boosting morale. So I turned that frown upside down, and I was extremely happy that they adapted this quickly. So you might be wondering, does this slow growth? No, there's actually no brakes in this train. I went skyrocketed up into essentially being a full-fledged backend engineer. So I was pretty much autonomous. There's not much guidance with my work. And I started leading medium to large projects as a sole backend engineer on these projects. And I started finding more and more new ways to contribute to the team, whereas like making lunch meetings and trying to boost morale as well. A couple highlights in my first 3 months. So I was a lead backend engineer for double-sided and new t-shirts. As you can see here, living the pug life on both sides. So this meant I scoped, planned, executed, tested, and then finally released this project. I also facilitated an integration with the US Apparel partner. So this is one of my first integrations that I did. And it was a lot of technical meetings with senior engineers and tech leads of other company. And I was just sitting there as a grad, just so nervous, but it was something that I kind of laughed at looking back. I started shadowing on call because I really wanted to get onto that on-call rotation and start, putting out fires in the middle of the night. And I started rolling out more and more of those parity projects, so these existing print products in new regions. So moving on to my first 6 months, I became a Slack meme. So I started getting these random emojis in Slack of my face. I still don't know why. I also became a service owner. So this was a huge accomplishment for me, where I was one of 3 other backend engineers who actually owns the print service. So it means I help make decisions in that print service. And I also help maintain like the health of that code base, which is amazing. I also solidified myself as a core backend engineer for print. So I became the core contact for print partners who would message me about random problems that they were having and would help fix those integrations. I was also the go-to guy for partner integrations, so for both existing partner integrations and new ones. And I also started helping with goal planning and scoping new projects. So as I said, I was added as a service owner. I started on call for print. So I actually started getting pinged at night, which was an interesting situation. I also launched folder cards in 11 regions, which I was extremely proud about because this happened in a couple of weeks that we got to release instantly, essentially. I also launched youth t-shirts, and I was the lead engineer for a Staples Canada integration, which was a much bigger integration than the US apparel partner. So beyond my 6 months, meme game is still going strong. I have 3 new Slack emojis, a new Slack bot, and then also someone made this Pokemon evolution of myself. I don't know why. I've also contributed a lot to Canva code base. My GitHub's been blowing up, and I've been reviewing a lot of code, and I've been coding a lot and providing real impact to like the Canva print code base. I'm also old now, so the team doubled in size in that year. So I'm actually older than half of the engineers, and I'm also moving more towards engineering management, which is crazy to think since I'm only 1 year into my tenure at Canva and also 1 year into my career. So a bunch of highlights in the last couple of months. I buddied 3 new engineers, so they're ranging from an intern to an industry professional. I also am going on coach training, and I'm a soon-to-be coach. This is sort of like the engineering management track in Canva. I also launched 3 more print partners. So that's planning, integrating, testing, and then finally launching, and then having a beer because it was such a nerve-wracking experience. And then the Terraform, I'm also the Terraform guy for print. So I learned Terraform early on in my kind of internship and print days. And then I found a niche where there wasn't really a Terraform owner in the print backend. And then I started to actually code a lot in that. So that was pretty awesome. So Act 3, the final act, my reflection. So this is how I've kind of felt in my first year at Canva. I'm really excited to do stuff, but I'm also panicking because there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. And Canva is growing fast, so there's a lot of room to grow. As I said before, I'm much further in my career than I've expected. I didn't imagine myself to actually be on that engineering management track this early into my career. And there's a lot of opportunities to find your niche. Every team needs something new, and you can find it and then kind of like latch onto it. And it can be a bit scary, but it is your job to bring chaos to clarity as an engineer. So engineering wise, there's a lot of smart people like Jack. He's an extremely smart person. So you're constantly learning about all these new tools and new ways of doing things. The problems are non-trivial. So you're always thinking about what's the right way of doing something, and it's a lot of research into these approaches. There's also heaps of opportunities to pick up new technologies. I've learned Python, which I've never done before, Terraform, even learning more parts of Java as well. And there's real impact from that first line of code that you do, which is an amazing feeling. For growth, there's a dedicated coach to help you define your career. And there's a lot of leadership opportunities with kind of like the fast-paced growth of Canva. So if you want to go towards that leadership kind of route, then there's a lot of opportunities for you to go there. And there's also a focus on impact rather than tenure. They're always looking for people to make the most impact out of their day-to-day lives. And there's also a lot of open conversations to discuss where you fit best. So there's a lot of discussions with your coach about where you want to go, and your coach is there to facilitate that kind of growth and that journey. Culture, everyone is proactive and nice. There's no blame culture in Canva. Like whenever something goes wrong or I make a mistake, people are just looking to solve the problem rather than pointing fingers. And the core values are not just for show. They're not just some text on a wall. People actually live them day to day. And there's heaps of clubs and events to get amongst. And everything every day is actually exciting. As you can see, there's a lot of pets at Canva, and there's all these different events, and it's actually really every day is just like an adventure in itself. And the food is amazing. Like Jack said, there's so much food, and I've gained weight at Canva, but that's okay. And also there's a coffee machine at level 1, so I've just been using that a lot as well. So my takeaways at Canva. Canva is an interesting product. I constantly use it in my free time, like whether it's to make designs or even print. And there's heaps of technical challenges, so you're always picking that part of your brain. I achieved heaps in 1 year straight out of uni, and I've only felt like I was a grad for the first day. And I always feel like I'm providing real life impact, which is an amazing feeling to have when you come to work. So yeah, thank you. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into what it's like to be a grad at Canva. And I hope you all apply.
Awesome. Thank you both. So we do have 15 minutes of questions. So either feel free to pop them in the chat or even just come off mute or put your camera on as well. It's an opportunity to ask anything about anything at Canva. We'll try our best to answer for you. First question off the bat. Thank you, Lynn. Are any of the intern roles available for international students? Fantastic question. Yes, they are. So if you're an international student, you are able to come on board as an intern and a grad. So absolutely apply. Are intern applications considered on a roll-on basis? I'm going to interpret this, Devansh, as is it an annual program? Yeah, perfect. It's an annual program. So it is run from the first week of December through to the end of February. Now we are aware that this does overlap slightly with UNSW's trimesters. So uni is absolutely a priority. You attend classes when you need to, you attend exams, and we work around you.
I think they also might have been asking like when they can, like whether they, I interpreted it slightly differently. My interpretation was like whether it's like whether we take applications and then process them as a batch. But I think we do it on a rolling basis. So like once the internship positions are filled kind of thing, we stop.
It does a little bit. There is a bit of, so we start processing applications before we close them, but we will close them, review everyone's application and ensure that everyone has an opportunity to review and apply. It's a little bit of both, yeah.
Cool. This one says, if you apply, say, for a front-end role, how long do you stay in front-end and can you change in the future? Canva really favors engineers who know how to work their way through a lot of the product. And so if you're able to get into your hands into the back end and work on it, yeah, it's definitely viable to work on both. As for like defined like transitions, it's usually Canva being a product focused company. If you're working on something where you have the ability to work on both, that's in that team for that season, then yeah, you definitely can change to do both. PM grad roles, do you know anything about that, Jess?
So we do have some APM roles starting to open up. These are quite ad hoc, so best to keep an eye on our careers page. So these are opening as we have the mentoring capacity to do so, but they are starting to pop up, so keep an eye out.
Waleed, you got a question?
Hey, hello. Can you hear me fine?
Yep.
Okay. Hi everyone. Hope you guys are all doing good. My question is, I've heard from people, and even in the last presentation for the Canva event, that Canva is one of the biggest code bases in the world. How is it like for a fresh intern to like hop onto such a big code base and you're pushing code into production? Was it daunting, and how did you deal with like such a big code base? Like so much responsibility. Yeah, that's my question.
Well, Sharma can definitely comment on this as well, but Canva's is actually not the biggest. Google and Microsoft's is much bigger. They both have much bigger monorepos than we do. That being said, Canva is probably one of the biggest is probably one of the biggest in Australia. I don't think Atlassian does monorepo. I think they're polyrepo. And so it's a little bit daunting, but like it's structured in such a way that like you're able to look at the part that concerns you. And I think that's what makes it slightly easier to understand, is that there's a lot of focus on naming things correctly and putting the code in the right spot so that when somebody does just happen to stumble across it, it has like, it's there for a reason and not just, you know, thrown in at a certain level. There's a lot of thought that goes into how we style and present our code for readability and those reasons. So initially, yes, there's a lot of code. And like, even today, I think there's a lot of code and I don't know how 99.9% of it works. But I do know how my 0.1% works really well. And that's what really matters. But Charmer probably has, yeah, pushing 200 lines into like a big repo already.
No, I think it really depends. Like, it also depends on how you learn as well. From onboarding kind of a couple of newbies, I've noticed that their learning style is very different to mine. So like when I was approaching the code base, I think for me, it's knowing essentially at a high level what every area does, but not like going in deep. And it's just understanding how different components like interact with each other. And then once you know that, then when you get like this task that says, you know, change this or change that, or like we need this, then I know where to look. And then I just have trust in myself that I'll be able to figure out like what actually happens in there. So for me, when I started, I was just picking out like kind of smaller to medium tickets and just like coding in those different areas and kind of building the picture like that. Whereas a couple of other newbies who started off with reading like the whole code base, drawing a full diagram, and then they learn like that. So it's really dependent on like how you learn and how you want to approach it. But yeah, like Jack said, it is daunting, but it'll get easier once you start working on it.
Yep, that answers my question perfectly. Thank you, Jack and Tamara. Thanks so much.
This
No worries.
is a good question for you both. Do you have any tips or resource recommendations for preparing for a back-end coding interview?
Cracking the Coding Interview. It's a really, really, really good book. People like it's probably gets suggested a lot, but yeah, Cracking the Coding Interview is great. It has a lot of interest. It has a section dedicated to Java, which is important because we're a Java company. You will interview in Java, and it also goes through a lot of the fundamentals. Like I actually think the best part of Cracking the Coding Interview is actually the first part of the book, and not the questions at the end of the book. They help obviously, but I found it was very concise in the way that like a lot of those core interview concepts were explained. So I think that's a great resource.
Yeah, I agree. Like a lot of the stuff when I was in uni preparing for the grad interview was just coding in Java and like reading Cracking the Coding Interview, doing those questions as well, and then just whipping out projects. Like I think when you get too focused into those kind of leak code questions, you kind of forget that, you know, coding is not like that. So I think it's just keeping making like random projects and just coding and making sure you're fresh on that is also a good thing.
Thank you both. Just gonna see, are there any particular suggestions for balancing our skills of languages versus tools? E.g., should we focus 50-50 on Java and Terraform, AWS, Git? What would you recommend?
Like me personally, I'll just Terraform was something that I learned in an internship because my like internship kind of focused around Terraform. I wouldn't learn it on the side. A lot of it is focused on like I'd focus a lot on your Java fundamentals and also like design like practices and stuff like that, rather than Terraform and like AWS and Git. It is nice to have. I think if you do have an opportunity to learn it and you do have an opportunity to play around with it, it's nice to do it. And it's also really interesting if you actually put some time into it. But I personally would focus a lot on like your Java fundamentals and getting those up to scratch first before like kind of moving on to these other technologies.
Yeah, 100%. As you move, as I've worked more at Canva, I've realized that it's not the underlying like frameworks that matter. It's the abstract knowledge that you can apply to every single framework that matters more. And so, like Chandra said, it's the design patterns that you understand, what common persistence patterns there are, those kinds of things. And I'd say they're more important to learn than the actual technologies themselves. Like you can, as long as you know some of the real basics syntax of Java, you can, in the interview, you can still go to the Java like documentation and look up how to do things with Java. There's no once you join the company and you've used Java for 3 months, you'll be fluent with it. And so there's no yeah, I'd say you can learn the tech when you're in the job kind of thing. Focus on the things that uni teaches you, which is those core concepts around design patterns and that kind of stuff.
And just on, I'm going to ask you both questions on the interview line. Is there anything that you would recommend for people to prepare for the interview outside of technical, so maybe more soft skills focused?
Yeah, if you haven't looked at the star pattern for answering values-based questions, that's a really, really good technique to prepare your examples in a way that's easy to communicate. I think that's probably the hardest thing about values interviews, is because I'd say all of you in here have the right values, but the difficult bit can be communicating it with an interviewer. And so yeah, looking up the STAR process, Atlassian has a really, really good public article on it. I think hopefully it's still public. Yeah, and other than that, it's just, oh man, values is it's hanging out with people and being open and communicative and being nice to people. Those are the core values that Canva is trying to get out of you. So yeah, hanging out in a society is 100% the best way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know what the star thing is, but preparing for interviews, it was just just being myself, I think, and also even with the technical interviews, I think a lot of people get really nervous and then kind of close off and just internalize a lot of things. And it's just verbalizing that and starting a discussion with the interviewer. And even if you don't know how to do it, just saying I'm not sure where to start, and then starting a conversation like that is much better than sitting there and just closing off. And then because then the interviewer doesn't know anything you're thinking about, right? So I think it's just be yourself, be nice, and have a good time in the interview.
It's hard to say have fun, but honestly, they're just fellow engineers and Canvanauts. They're actually really lovely people, and they want you to succeed. So yeah, just try and have fun with it. Learn something from it.
Yeah, 100. Even if you don't succeed technically in the interview, hopefully our goal is that you come away knowing something new about the technical process that we go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think for my final round as a grad one, I thought I failed. I was just panicking, and I called mom, and I was like, Mom, it didn't go so well. I don't think I'm smart enough, but I'm here now. So just have fun and just be yourself. So
we might wrap up with one more. If either of you wanted to pick the final question, Jack,
I think, do you choose your Jira tickets or do you get assigned? How long does it take you on average to work on one? Jack, do you want to answer this or do you want me to answer this?
It varies team to team. So my answer is going to be completely different to Chalmers. But on mine, I own a couple goals this season. And so therefore I pick what I'm working on and I get to pick what other people are working on currently. And so that's kind of how that process breaks down. But once you're assigned something, you can break it down yourself, or you can work with the person who gave it to you to break it down. Each team is very different because every team works on different problems. And so they have to work on the problems in different ways.
Yeah, like the print side, we recently moved to, so we have 2-week sprints, and everything in like the ready column for Jira tickets are unassigned. So for us, whatever you find interesting, you just pick it up, talk to the ticket owner if you need context, but you can just work on it. So we don't actually assign anything to anyone. And there are project owners their goal is to move the projects along and ensure that we're meeting like deadlines if there are deadlines. But in terms of actually work week, like it just varies. Sometimes I pick up some really interesting backend tasks. Other times I pick up like some bug fixes or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
As for like the length of time, a ticket can take anywhere from 3 months to half an hour. It all depends on whether you decide to break that ticket down or not. I think is and sometimes you have no choice but to wait 3 months because it relies on something external to you. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both. Kaiki, Finley, did you guys have anything you wanted to raise whilst we are in the call? Are you okay to wrap up?
I think that's about it, Jessica. I just want to thank Canva for coming in and sharing this with us. It was a fantastic presentation. I'm sure everyone agrees with me here. So thank you again for bringing such a wealth of knowledge and insight into Canva for us. It was wonderful to hear you guys speak and have a wonderful presentation.
That's so kind.
Yeah, and thanks Jez and Jack and Jama for spending your time here. Thanks everyone for coming. And yeah, we got a lot of people here. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us. It's always a blast.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much.
Thank you. If we do have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. I'm going to pop my email in the chat or find us on LinkedIn. I'm keen to keep the conversation going. So thanks everyone, and we'll sure to speak soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys.